Good afternoon, Marines. My name is Gunnar Pfister. I am the primary instructor for the Data System Chiefs course. In this lab, we are going to go over the basic configuration of ESXi, your physical hosts that are hosted on your ASM. So as the Data System Chief for the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit, you've been given the task to configure the management network configuration of both the servers in your application service module, your ASM, as well as the UCS service module inside of your LAN service module or your LSM. This will enable you to log into the web interface of your ESXi hosts and to be able to complete day-to-day tasks, as well as to be able to configure these hosts so that when you deploy your VMware vCenter Server appliance, you can add these hosts into that appliance and then be able to manage them all in the same location. You have worked with your fellow network chief and you have identified the amount of IP addresses needed for your server VLAN to include anything for expansion. Your network chief has come back and they've given you a /24 network of 192.168.125.0/24. To support the completion of this scenario, we're going to provide you three ESXi hosts, two of them from the ASM as well as one from your LSM, as well as we've already configured your domain controller with your host name records, and we've actually made it a domain controller and a DNS server. You have a configuration module, your CM. This is not domain, so this is going to replicate how you would work with your configuration module on your networks to be able to do administrative tasks on your ESXi hosts. If you look here on the left window, these are the name of the virtual machines that we are using, the IP addresses, the usernames, and then the password. The first step that we are going to do over here on the right hand screen inside of your 11U ESXi01 is we are going to authenticate and we are going to log into this host. So for installation purposes, the login name is going to be root. We're going to press the enter key, and then the password is password underscore capital C, capital R, and then a 1. So if you following on the left hand side, here's root. We're going down into the password. You should look similar. Go ahead and press enter. Once you press enter, it's going to come into the system customization view. Inside of here, you can do very basic tasks inside of your ESXi host. What the purpose of this lab is to do is to configure your management network. So if you're looking on my right hand screen and following on the left hand side, I'm going to press the down arrow and it's going to highlight configure management network. Once you highlight this option, go ahead and press enter and it's going to bring you up to this screen. For the purposes of this lab, we are going to disable this network adapter, and then once we finish configuring it, we'll come back in here and we'll enable the network adapter. So go ahead and highlight network adapters, go ahead and press enter. When you highlight that, it's going to come up with this network adapter screen. It's going to highlight the VM NIC, the only one that we have configured in here right now. Once it's highlighted, go ahead and press the space bar, and when you do, you're going to see that X. As you hear me, I'm pressing it. We want that X to not be within those square brackets. Once it's not in there, go ahead and press enter. For purposes of this lab, we're not going to work with anything VLAN. We're going to leave that, this is an optional step. You're going to come down here to your IPv4 configuration. If you saw at the very beginning of the overview, we have the workstation as well as the 3 ESXi hosts. Once you highlight IPv4 configuration, go ahead and press enter, and it's going to come into the configuration screen. By default, when you're installing ESXi, it's going to want to assign a dynamic IPv4 address. We don't want this to happen because we want to be able to assign a static IP address per our IP addressing scheme so that we can get in there as well as our junior Marines, our data system administrators. What you want to do is you want to press the down arrow and you want to select the set static IPv4 address. Once you have that highlighted, go ahead and press the space bar and it's going to move the little O from the dynamic down to static. When you do that, you're going to see that the IPv4 address, subnet mask, and the default gateway that was grayed out is now black. Once you do that, you can press the down arrow and go to IPv4 address, and it's going to highlight that. Per the overview, we're going to assign this one an IP address of 192.168.125.101. Press the down arrow to highlight the subnet mask. Because we worked with our data chief, he told us we have a /24. So the subnet mask for that is a 255.255.255.0. With working with our network chiefs, they told us that the default gateway for this network is going to be 192.168.125.1. So go ahead and type that in there. Go ahead and press enter. Once you've put that in there, press enter. It's going to kick you back to the configure management screen. We're going to press the down arrow twice, and we are going to go to DNS configuration. When we are inside a DNS configuration, you can see it's already been assigned to an IP address of 8.8.8.8. We're going to change that to our DNS server. In the lab overview, the IP address for your DC1, which is your primary DNS server, is going to be 192.168.125.21. We don't have an alternate DNS server set up yet in this lab environment, but for your purposes, you would assign it to either your secondary domain controller, or if you have a specific DNS server in there, you'd put that down in your alternate DNS server. We've already gone through and we've already created all the host names for all ESXi hosts. So this host name is 11mu ESXi01. I want to make sure that changes in there. Once that changes in there, go ahead and press enter. It's going to save those changes and it'll bring you back to the configure management network screen. What we want to do now is we want to point this ESXi host to our domain. Press the down arrow to go to custom DNS suffixes. Go ahead and press the enter key to make the changes. Here inside the suffix, 11mu.usmc.mil is going to be the domain name. Go ahead and press enter to save that. Once you've configured all of those changes, go ahead and press the escape key. What this will do is it's going to come up with the confirm management network. It's going to ask you, do you want to apply changes and restart the management network? Yes, we do. So press yes. And what this will do will bring you back to the main system configuration customization screen. What we want to do is we want to go back into the management network and re-enable our network adapter. So where it says configure management network, go ahead and press enter. Make sure it's still highlighted. Make sure your network adapters selection is still highlighted. Go ahead and press enter. It'll bring up this screen. Press that space bar. Once you do, you will see that the X shows up. Go ahead and press enter. Press escape. It's going to ask you again to restart your management network. Go ahead and press yes. To make sure everything that we've configured is correct, you press the down arrow twice to go to test management network. Press enter to go inside of the screen. Inside of here, it's going to pull some information from that management network you just set up. It's going to pull your default gateway, pull your domain controller, your primary DNS server that you put in there, as well as the host name, and it's going to attempt to resolve all of those. If you want to make sure you have network connectivity to your workstation, you can always arrow down to where it says ping address, add that IP address in there, and then go ahead and press enter. For this purposes, we're just going to test those 3 IP addresses to make sure everything is working. As you see on my right hand screen, all 3 IP addresses have come back okay. This is letting me know I've configured them all correctly. Once that is done, go ahead and press escape. This will log you out. Come over to your left window, come over to your other servers, and we're going to do the same thing for ESXi host 02 and 03. Click this option to open web console. I'm going to drag it over to my other screen here. Same thing like we did for the first host. Go ahead and press F2. Enter your password, password_CR1, enter. and just follow the same steps. Configure management network, come into your network adapter, uncheck the box, come to IPv4, set static IP address, add your IP address 102, your subnet mask, and your default gateway. For IPv4 address, I came up with that network, those IP addresses for our hosts based off some of the labs that we've been doing inside of the Data System Chiefs course. Enabling my primary DNS server as well as the host name for my device, and adding the primary suffix. Enter, escape, restarting my management network, come back in, network adapter, space, enter, escape, yes. Now I'm going to come over here, I'll do the same thing for my third host, F2, enter my password. If at any point you forget what IP address that you are trying to utilize, come back over to the left-hand screen, click the overview button here. It should bring you right back to the top. So I am using 03. So I disable my network adapter, set static 192.168.125.103, 255.255.255.0, 192.168.125.1. 192.168.125.21 for my primary DNS server. 11 mu ESXi03. Enter. 11 mu.usmc.nil. Press enter. Escape. This will restart our management network. Go ahead and press yes. Come back into configure management network. Go back into your network adapter. Press space to enable your VMNIC. Press enter. Press escape. Yes. And now we're going to test our management network. Once you've configured all three of your hosts, you are good to complete this lab. Thank you and have a wonderful day.